Alright guys, so before we start, I was just saying I'm like absolutely terrified to make this video because like most of my viewers are, I don't know, some, but hold up. We've got something to make it better. Y'all see this? Yeah, okay. So here we got like a box of stuff. You know, Korean snacks, right? And I hope that makes it better because I'm gonna eat these while reading my script. So I basically wrote this last year because we had to like make a hot take for class, and I decided to make mine. Korea kind of sucks, right? Everybody's out here pretending that Korea is like a utopia on Earth, you know? But I'm here to claim the opposite. I don't believe Korea is a utopia on Earth. We're first going to talk about the Korean government, right? And the way that they influence the education system to basically suppress individuality and make everybody the same obedient worker, right? So, if we think about it, South Korea has one of the most oppressive education systems on this planet. From conformity to extreme mental health issues among students, it is among developed countries to have the highest suicide rates at 23.2 suicides per 100,000 people, many being from students. South Korea has insane exam culture, and if you don't make it to a SKY University, which consists of Seoul National, Korea University, and Yonsei, many consider their life basically worthless, right? There's no use for it, right? And that's when they decide to end it there. It's such a bad issue that train stations in Seoul have to have barriers so people don't jump in, and bridges have to have 24/7 suicide cameras so that people don't, jump in. People who stand out get put back in with everybody else. This eliminates individuality. Last year, right? The Korean government, instead of fixing the issues at hand, decided to tackle something even more important. Put yourself in the shoes of the Korean government for a second. You see your students killing themselves. You see your students not happy with their lives. You see their students spend all day studying, right? What do? Your first option is to make school not something that the entire world revolves around. Your second option is to allow creativity and individualism in students. So which one do you pick? Wrong. You pick getting rid of anti-discrimination laws in school. This makes it so that teachers can discriminate students based on their race and religion. Right? And here's a quote. The Student Human Rights Ordinance prohibits discrimination against students based on gender, religion, and other factors. Last year, the government pointed at the Human Rights Ordinances as a cause of infringement on teachers' rights, prompting education offices in the metropolitan cities and provinces nationwide to push for their repeal. On the 24th, the Cheongdam Provincial Council became the first education office to abolish the Students' Human Rights Ordinance. This even furthers my point. Race and religion are something that are closely tied to a student's identity, right? And now allowing the teachers to discriminate based on that basically forces the student to hide those traits of themselves. And that basically means that the student, after hiding these, will have to go back into the same working level as everybody else. Hence the quote, "The giant stone gets chiseled down." And from these points above, you can see clearly that they're just pushing to make everybody more the same. That's not a good thing. That's a very dystopic thing, because after getting everybody to do the same stuff, everybody's going to be the same worker over and over again. Right. Now, on to my second point. There's insane corruption in South Korea. I want you to think about this for a second. On April 14th, there was a ferry. It was the Seawall ferry, right? 443 passengers, 250 of them who died were students from high school on their yearly trip to Jeju Island, right? Later, when the public found out, they were like, upset because the captain and the crew told the kids to stay put. Then they got on the lifeboats and went back. The students, the ones which followed the direction of the captain and stayed on the ship, they died. And the Coast Guards, they just circled the ship. They didn't actually, go and save anybody on it. And, these caused the candlelight protests, and that's where people hold the yellow ribbons and the anti-government stuff, yada. But after the sinking, people called for the resign of, the prime minister for being a douchebag. Shoot, wait, am I right? Yeah, no, so the prime minister, she got kicked out, right? And it raised some questions. The ferry, who let this happen exactly, right? There's no reason for something like this to happen, and sources point at it being someone who's powerful. Now you might be wondering, where does that power come from? It's something that comes from chaebol, and you might be wondering, what's a chaebol, right? After the 1960s, after the Korean War, Korea was one of the poorest countries on this planet, right? And soon they had something called the Miracle on the Han River, where they basically became, super rich. And I applaud them on that. Good job. It takes a lot to do that, right? So, they're currently sitting around $1.88 trillion in GDP. They're the fourth largest economy in Asia. And the government of South Korea, to basically do this, they invested in a few companies, heavily, and gave them stuff to do. And basically these companies, they grew up, they became massive. And some of these include LG, Samsung. And these companies have helped them gain a lot of influence around the world, become really powerful, But to do this, they basically had to wipe out all the other companies so that these ones could succeed. And that made the government really close to those people in the chaebol, families. So due to that, many of these chaebols had direct power in the government, or still do. I'm not gonna lie, they still do. Lee Jae-young, he was sentenced to prison for corruption. But the president who at the time, kind of let him go, because Joe Biden wanted more chips. So, you see, these people, they have so much power within the government that they can basically get away with anything. And from these points that show, and just the ferry and overall, the reason that the people who were really in charge of overloading the ferry, that didn't get, the reason they didn't get in trouble was because, they have so much power, nobody would have stopped them anyways. Alright, you might be thinking to yourself though, this guy, K-pop, you would be right, but let's be honest real quick. Does anybody actually believe that the people in these videos and the idols are genuinely happy? Can we just stop pretending they are? Genuinely being, this is just a little side note, right? People who hate on K-pop or whatever, it's fine, you cannot like them. But the sheer amount of physical ability that these idols have to possess to be dancing and shit, it's actually insane. Just don't hate on them. Don't hate on the, you can hate the music, just don't hate on the people. Anyways, right, back to what I was saying. Korean idol culture is very, very impressive and unfree. Every single bit of identity that an idol has is manufactured by a major corporation. They are expected to work long hours with little time for their own mental health. They have to follow insane diets and schedule. Hyunjin, am I saying that right? I'm sorry, I don't listen to this stuff, bro. With a Super Junior, said that he suffered from kidney issues along with declining emotional health from not having a day off in years. These conditions are terrible. Idols are required to get rid of a personality type they already possess in order for a manufactured one by a company. Companies will require certain members of groups to play certain roles. One member may be shy, one may be funny, And these limit personality even more and add up to the suppression of people individualism. Idols are not permitted to be in relationships as that to maintain a personality being pure. A major driver for these idols relies on people having parasocial relationships with them. These parasocial relationships may end up dangerous, as stalkers who take things too far may end up assaulting or harassing these idols. Idols don't end up here for no reason. When they're young, around 8 to 12, they get scouted, and at these times they are locked into contracts with big corporations, and have to usually rely on the corporation until the corporation lets them go. So basically slave contracts, right? Sharecropping. These issues often carry over into idolism when artists debut. Idols are expected to work long hours with few allowances for mental and emotional health because of the amount of content they are expected to turn. With concerts, music production, and going live on social media, variety show appearances, and exclusive fan events and interactions, and idols' responsibilities often fill the majority of the day with few lines between personal life and their work. This shows that the free aspects of South Korea are also heavily controlled, and they make it, and stuff like K-pop is basically just South Korean propaganda to make the country look more free. And it's a proof to show that South Korea shows itself as a free nation, and they basically maximize profits to bring forward a globalized, consumer-based society. Right, so in conclusion, I believe South Korean society is a dystopic, consumer, globalized hellhole which suppresses creativity and individualism, resembling a free society where everybody is locked by social norms, and basically because the government makes everybody the same. Very powerful people have tons of power, and people who don't have tons of power are kind of just like fried. By the way, very uneducated video. Please don't take it seriously. I mean, you could. It's good if you guys were to go in to study the stuff, to go online, because I genuinely believe it's an actual issue. But it's up to you. An honest review isn't that bad. It's not that bad. You guys can try it.